Hi guys, this is your girl Wakeji Kamore and welcome to Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. First and foremost, thank you so much for the birthday wishes, the blessings, the prayers and the love. It was well received, it was felt and it was appreciated. And yes, I had a blast on my birthday. Second, thank you so much for watching the YouTube videos that I put up. I had forgotten how much fun it is to shoot videos and also just had missed speaking about other things apart from the usual, laws and sacrifices that we've been covering in the book of Leviticus. But guess what? We are back. So today I'll be covering the book of Leviticus chapter 22. But just before that, here is a recap of what we have covered in the book of Leviticus, just in case you guys have forgotten. So the book of Leviticus, as mentioned, is intended to help the Israelites and the priests know how to worship a holy God. The book is divided into different sections, and here are some of the ones that we have covered. We have chapters 1 to 7, which has the laws on sacrifices, and this is where we find instructions on how to do a sin offering, a burnt offering, a grain offering, and fruit offering, fellowship offering, peace offering, etc., etc. Then we have chapters 8 to 10, which is laws on proper conduct of the priests and what they were to wear and how far they were to go into the tabernacle, and the consequences of disobedience are actually displayed by the death of two of Aaron's sons who disobeyed God. And then God killed them on the spot. And then chapters 11 and 15, here we find the laws on purity. What animals, daily activities and diseases God considered clean and unclean, holy and unholy, and how the Israelites were to move from being unclean to clean and from being unholy to holy. Then we have chapters 16 and 17, which covers the activities of the Day of Atonement. So this is the day the high priest would make sacrifices to atone for his sin and for his sins, the sins of his family and the sins of all the Israelites. Then we have chapters 18 to 20, which covers the sanctification of the people so that they are able to walk with this holy God. And here we find laws concerning sexual relations, culture, and there was warning against the previous habits that they had picked from Egypt concerning child sacrifice. Then we are here, chapters 21 and 22, which covers the laws concerning the proper marriage partners for priests, proper handling of sacrifices, and the consequences for anyone who went against these laws. So now, let's get into the summary of chapter 22. So chapter 22 discusses the subjects of making offerings and God's guidelines about receiving the offerings. Remember, guys, that when the Israelites would make the offerings, at the tent or the tabernacle, what remained was to be given to the priests as their food, because the priests didn't do anything else apart from offer these sacrifices all day, 24/7. They were at the tabernacle, and these priests were specific people. They were from the tribe of Levi. They were the Levites. So this chapter is basically speaking about how they were to handle the sacrifices and how they were supposed to handle it with respect and with care, even if it was meant to be like their food, and who was supposed to eat it, who could eat it, who could not eat it. So the Lord spoke to Moses and said for him to tell Aaron and his sons to show great respect for all the offering made to the Lord. One of the rules that God gave regarding offering was that any person deemed ceremonially unclean should be turned away when he goes to make an offering to the Lord. Anyone with a skin disease or an infection was also to be turned away and not allowed to eat from the sacred offerings. Regardless of how and why the person had become unclean, he is not to be allowed to take part of the traditional offering, and the next day, after he is given some time to fix himself, he may return and partake of the food of the offering. However, he cannot eat any carrion prior to visiting the temple, or he will once again be unclean. So the priests of the temple were to follow these rules as closely as possible and not make exceptions under the penalty of death. The priests had to be sure that only those who were eligible to take part in the rituals would do so. If an unclean person took part in the ritual by mistake, the priests must make restitutions. Any unacceptable offering to God will be one that has a defect. God would not accept a deformed or injured calf, for example, and an offering that was sick in any way or looked like something may be wrong with it was not an offering that should be ever considered acceptable for good reason. It would be a weak sacrifice, and since the animal would be one the owner really did not want, God only wanted the best of the herd, and that was all that he would accept as an offering to him. So if this chapter reminds me of anything, it reminds me that God is holy, and so should be the sacrifices that we offer unto him. And also the hearts of those who offer the sacrifices should be right with God. So in the New Testament, we saw that as much as we don't have necessarily a tabernacle, we don't have like the sacrifices that the Israelites used to offer, because Christ came and became the ultimate sacrifice. That way we don't need to offer sacrifices anymore. But we, as believers, every person who's a believer has been called a royal priesthood. So every person who's a believer is a priest. So did you know that we offer sacrifices to God on a daily basis? Every time we come before God with praise and worship or giving of our time, effort, and resources, we are offering a sacrifice to God. So, my fellow priests, how clean are your hands? Has the song of your praise and worship been defiled by the uncleanness of hatred, bitterness, envy, or lust? Have your prayers bounced off the ceiling, unable to penetrate the throne room because of your self-unrighteousness? When you place your offering in the bowl, is it corrupted by your ingratitude or a grudging spirit? Are your ears unable to hear the word preached because of the noise created by your unconfessed sins? If so, then repent and lay hold of the spotless sacrifice of Christ this very moment, and do not delay. Be washed now by the blood of the Lamb. This is your girl Wakeji Kamore, and this has been Reflections by Wakeji Kamore.